Good evening, boys and girls, back again for another edition of our free YouTube tips, this time for Boxing Day's racing, which is always a great spectacle to watch, to bet on. It's a great day of sport all round, loads of football on, loads of racing as well. So it's a really, really good day after Christmas Day. So we've got our work done nice and early. We've taken some decent value in the VIP group. I think one of the horses that we jumped on at 6-1 has already been clipped into 3-1 in places. So plenty of early value had for our VIP members. Now this week, if you see my head start rattling around or I get cut off halfway during a conversation, it's because I've had to edit the video this week. I'm currently on day 4 of whatever the fuck this horrible flu bug that's going around is. It's knocked me for 6 and I can't really go many minutes without coughing my guts up. So, yeah, don't think you're too pissed already or anything like that. If you start thinking, what the hell's going on with this video? It's chopping and changing a bit. I'll do my best. But I've got 2 tips to give out to you. And then I'll do a little 4 or 5 minute rundown of how I think the King George is going to go this year. Obviously, one of the biggest races, jumps races that there is. Maybe the second biggest jump race after the Gold Cup at Cheltenham. You've got the Grand National as well, I suppose. But it's one of the biggest races on the calendar, and it's always a good race to watch on Boxing Day. So I'll give you a rundown of that after the tips, because I know most of you will be here for the tips. And if you don't give a monkeys about what I've got to say about the King George, then you can just turn the video off afterwards, can't you? Profit-wise, smashing it again this month. Just over 550 points profit in December. Off the back of 2 600-point months. Insane. Absolute insane end to an amazing year. The best year we've ever had. And I said that last year as well. So it's brilliant. We've beaten our best year ever. So a fantastic year all round. If you want that £1 offer for the rest of the year, you want all our amazing Christmas tips. So much work is going to go ahead over the next few days. We only really get one day off in this game. But that's the way it goes, and that's why we love it so much, because we love getting stuck into the cards. So if you want the rest of our tips, including Boxing Day as well, it's not too late. You can pay £1. I'll put the link down below. But let's move on. 2 tips for you then for Boxing Day. The first one's maybe a bit of an obvious one, and then the second one we can get an each-way bet going. So the first one, the horse is called Mcfabulous. 13-8, most bookies. Bet365 was 11-10 for some reason. That's way too short. So don't use them. Use anybody else. Mcfabulous. 13-8, 120 at Kempton. Now, I really, really like this horse over fences. I was never a fan over hurdles. Maybe only ever tipped him once, if that. But he was always going to be a decent chaser. He's run 3 races so far. He's won 2 of them. The one he lost, he never just... Well, I don't even know what the excuse was in the end. He hardly went a gallop. I think he may have slipped after one of the fences or something like that. He was very, very quickly pulled up, ran no race at all. Big line just straight through that one. There was plenty of excuses there. He's then come out and won his next 2 chase starts. The last one was only a small runner race, 3 runners. But it did have Time Hill in it. One of my favourite horses in training, who just doesn't look like a chaser to me at all. They need to be sending that horse back over hurdles. 3 miles over hurdles. Yes, please, for Time Hill. He could be running in the long walk at Kempton 3 miles and be second, third favourite and mix that race right up. But he's just not a chaser for me. At the minute, I think this season, go back over hurdles. Yeah, there's some good races to come over hurdles still this season. And then maybe try chasing again next year. But anyway, that's about Time Hill. Mcfabulous put Time Hill firmly in his place last day, won fairly comfortably, and I just like the way this horse goes about his business. He will suit Kempton. He's won 2 out of 2 times over hurdles at Kempton. So he's unbeaten at the track over hurdles. He comes here. He likes to race prominently in his races. He can lead. He can sit second or third. So always got to look out for horses who like to lead or sit prominently at Kempton. So many races are run over fences and over hurdles. Whether it's run slowly or quickly, the pace often holds up. All right, that's really important. You have to go and have a look at those pace maps before you back any horse ever. It goes. So Kempton, you want to be looking at those horses that like to sit near the front. Mcfabulous is one of those. He can lead. He can like to sit just off the pace. He's top rated in the field. He's already beat Time Hill, like I said before. And he just ticks all the boxes here. I know it's an old cliche, but he ticks all the boxes. Now, the one thing I was trying to find a chink in his armour, and one of them was maybe the soft ground. I had a bit of a question mark over that. But when you go back through his back form, he has run on soft ground 4 times, and he's won on 2 of those occasions. Now, when you look through his form, it does look like maybe the Nichols camp does try to avoid soft ground in recent history with this horse. But he's won on it in the past. He's won on it at Kempton as well in the past. So, listen, it is just a rock-solid bet. I think 13-8 is good value looking at the field. I think the Skelton horse is a bit of a danger, gets the mare's allowance, but still has about £6 to find with Mcfabulous then. So, I just think this horse is going to bounce out. He jumps well. And look, Nichols could have a massive, massive day on Boxing Day. And I think this boy is going to go and win. Next up, 305 at Kempton. Don Alvaro, another Nichols horse. Like I say, he could have a massive, massive day. He's got so many big players on Boxing Day at Kempton and other tracks as well. But obviously, we're sticking with Kempton for the YouTube video. Don Alvaro. 5-1, 4 places each way, Skybet. So look, you're looking at money back 2nd, 3rd or 4th with Skybet. I like this horse a lot. I think he's one of those horses that's on a big upward curve. He's working his way through the ranks and he's winning his races quite easily. Obviously, when you're looking at handicaps, that's not always ideal. You're going to get big rises in the handicap. But this horse has done it. Excuse me. This horse has done it at class 4 level easily. He's done it at class 3 level easily as well. Now, this is a class 3 race. The jockey, Angus Cheleda, has won twice. The last 2 times that he's ridden this horse, that was by 15 lengths and 8 lengths. Now, another rise in the weights is going to make this more difficult, but I just think he's so far ahead of the handicapper. I think he's going to run another big race. He gets in here off a really nice low weight as well, so that's soft ground. You're not really always wanting those top weights on the soft ground. Another horse who likes to race positive in his races. There is a couple of other front runners in this race, including the other Nichols horse, Solo, but I don't know about Solo. He's so hit and miss. I landed on him for a little while and then I talked myself out of it and landed on Don Alvaro instead. I just think Solo can be a bit weak in the finish sometimes. So this lad is on a big upward curve and let's follow him whilst he's on it. I think he could go and win this race. It's a very competitive handicap. He's moving back up from a class 4 to a class 3. But like I said previously, he has won at this grade already as well. So 2 horses there, both on the pace maps look to have a good chance. Mcfabulous on form has an outstanding chance of winning. And Don Alvaro were on a nice progressive handicapper running at Kempton on Boxing Day. Good luck to those who are on the 2 bets. I'm just going to spend a few minutes now going through the King George because it's a difficult one to land on this year. So last but not least, the King George. I thought I'd do 4 or 5 minutes. I promise I won't rattle on too much. If I go into too much detail about each horse or the race, we'll be here forever. And I'll probably bored you enough already with the previous segment. But I had a few people ask me, because I haven't actually thrown out an official tip for the King George this year. It's very competitive. It's not the greatest renewal we've ever seen if you go back through history on ratings. I think 75% of races in the last 20 years have been won by a horse rated 168 or over. And there's only one horse in the field who is rated that, which is L'Homme Pressé. So he is the right favourite on paper. I think Brave Man's Game was favourite for a little while, going back maybe a week ago, but they have flip-flopped well and truly now. I think L'Homme Pressé, you're looking about 2-1 best price that you can get. But yeah, it's not the greatest renewal. They're not the best 3-milers we've ever seen in our lives, but it is very competitive and it will be a good race. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be difficult to find the winner. But let's start with the pace of the race. Always an important factor that we must put into our research, the pace of the race. Now, when we're looking back only 2 years ago, you've got Frodon in here who won the race from the front. Now, unless you backed Frodon that day, if you backed anything else, probably like me, you were very pissed off to know that all those jockeys just gave Frodon an easy lead, 3-4 length lead the whole way round. And surprise, surprise, nobody could catch him. Nobody could get to his girth and go past him, because that's how Frodon likes to run his races. He's a great horse from the front, and he's won so many races like this, including last day when we jumped on when he won at Kempton. I don't think he's going to be getting an easy lead this time around. There's no way Bryony is going to be able to get away from the field like she did a couple of years ago. We have a horse called Ahoy Senor in the field this year, who only really knows one way of running, and that is to go from the front pretty much as quickly as he sort of can, and then he either wins or comes last. And this season he seems to be closer to last than first, but he's quite good value really for a horse that has beaten a few of these, including Brave Man's Game before in the past. You've also got L'Homme Pressé, who has ridden and won most of his races from the front. I think that is one of the horses that will probably give in to the two front runners there, Frodon and Ahoy Senor. I don't think Charlie Deutsch is stupid enough to go and try and press them for the lead, unless they're going 27, 28 miles an hour. Then all three of them may lead, and they won't be going too fast, so they can all three of them dictate the pace. So it will be very interesting to see very early on, the first minute of the race, how they sort themselves out. But yeah, it won't be a freebie for Frodon in front this year. Expect 2 to 3 front runners. I mean, Brave Man's Game has done it in the past, Hitman's done it in the past, but I'm pretty sure Paul Nicholls is going to be very pissed off if one of them leads and bounces out in front of this race. I'm pretty sure they'll know, get Hitman and Brave Man's Game to sit just off these leaders. Even Royal Pagai's actually led, but there's no way that horse is going to lead this time around. I would have thought that horse would probably be held up near the back for Venetia Williams as well. So the pace of the race, couple of front runners, possibly 3 front runners. I don't think they're going to go off like the Clappers. If they let Ahoy Senor get an easy lead, that will be dangerous. But I just think with Frodon in the field, that won't happen either. So it's going to be interesting the first minute of the race, see how they go, and see how quickly they go on the old miles per hour as well. Now let's start with 50 to 1 shot Miller's Bank. Let's start at the bottom of the field. We'll work our way up, and then I will shut up and let you crack on with your Christmas celebrations. Miller's Bank, I know a couple of tipsters have tried to make a case for this horse. I just can't see it myself. He's 50 to 1 for a reason. He's not really in the same league as these guys. He's got just as much chance as throwing his jockey off, because he likes to do that. I think in his last 8 runs, he's unregistered the jockey 3 times. He's got more chance of doing that than coming in the top 3, in my opinion. If he does come in the top 3, fair play to Jonathan Burke and Alex Hales. It will be an amazing feat. It will be an amazing performance. It could happen, but I just don't think it will personally. So now next in the field, the second sort of outsider is Frodon, which, you know, so everybody loves Frodon, let's be honest. Everybody loves Frodon, and everyone who's well into racing or just watches it once a year will love Frodon and Bryony Frost and that fairy tale story. He's such a great horse. He tries his heart out all the time. He's such a hard try. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes 3rd or 4th. I just can't see him winning this, because even when he won it, he was gifted the race by every single other jockey. He was literally, not that they let him win, but you know what I mean? He was gifted the race, absolutely gifted it. And I just can't see how that is going to happen again here. He will try his heart out. If you're going to have an each way bet, he's around 16 to 1. You're could probably get 4 places with a couple of bookies on the day. Yeah, what a 16-1 chance is probably about a fair price. You may sneak a place. Eldorado Allen, absolutely zero chance. The Tizards, Joe's doing a better job than Colin Tizard was doing at the end of his career when the winners dried up. But yeah, Joe Tizard, he's going through a bit of a dry patch in the last couple of weeks as well. And Eldorado Allen, I just think he's a good handicapper at the high end of the handicaps, but he's just not really that. He's not a grade 1 horse for me. He's not a King George horse. Again, another horse, it will be a shock if he wins. Listen, there's some big price winners of the King George over the years. Listen, anything can happen. It's a horse race, but I'm just giving you my opinion of what I see on paper, what I've seen with my own eyes through racing over. Obviously, all these horses have been racing over the last few years. I just can't see how Eldorado Allen could win the race. 16-1. If you're going to choose between Frodon and Eldorado Allen, I'd always rather be on Frodon. I think you get a better run for your money there. Another horse, same price in most places. Ahoy Senor, already touched on him. We know he's going to bounce out in front unless, because he's been poor this season, they try to change tactics. But I'd be very surprised if that's the case, because his best performances so far have come, when he has just bombed out in front, got into a good rhythm, and he never sees another rival. So that they have to be the tactics. So you've got 3 horses there sitting on 16-1. If I had to pick between all 3 of them, I probably would pick Frodon still, because I have seen Frodon win when he hasn't led, even though he wants to, if that makes sense. So if I had to pick between one of those 3 outsiders, or 4 outsiders if you include the Donkey Miller's Bank, I would pick Frodon if you wanted an outside each way bet, which is probably a fairly obvious thing to say because everyone loves the bloody horse anyway and will be backing him. I know plenty of people who are backing him already. So, but yeah, if you're looking for an outsider, that's got to be Frodon there for me. The next in the market, Royal Pagaille, brilliant horse on his day, a fantastic animal. He could beat any of these horses if there was puddles all over Kempton. If it was absolute bottomless ground, he'd be half the price. I reckon he'd be 5-1 if that was an absolute bog. Because this horse, the wetter it is, the better he is. He absolutely loves it. Sopping, soaking wet. Other than that, he's bang average really. So 10-1, I think he's probably 10-1 because of the amount of rain that's come already. If that rain hadn't come, I'd probably say it'd be 25-1 because he'd have no chance in this. If some biblical miracle happens and there's a 20 more inches of rain, Royal Pagaille will have a half decent chance. The next in the market, we move on to Hitman. Now, this for me, if I was going to have a bet in the race, which I'm not planning to unless this flu fucks off, I have 10 points on Boxing Day, and I just have 20 quid just to keep me interested whilst I'm in the pub. But if I was going to have a tip and have a bet, Hitman would be my each way shout. That he's got good form. He's an improving horse. Obviously, strong connections again. Paul Nicholls, Sam Twiston Davis, they've been here and done it before. You know, Harry Cobden's chose wrong in the past. I.e. Clan Bezo winning the race in recent history. But I think Hitman is unexposed. He's never run over 3 miles before. I know Paul Nicholls has said in an interview that Hitman could improve for the step up in distance. That's the big question mark about Hitman. Will he see out the 3 miles in a King George? You need pace, which he's got, but you also need stamina. How many tired horses do you see clatter the last fence or fall at the last fence at Kempton after 3 miles? That saps the stamina out. Coming into that home bend, horses are still on the bridle. When they get to that last fence, all of a sudden, the petrol gauge just goes to empty. So will that happen to Hitman? We will wait and see. But I've been a bit critical of Sam Twiston Davis this season on a few rides, but he knows how to win the King George. Could he do it on Hitman? That would probably be my each way play if someone had a gun to my head and said, pick me an each way shot for the King George. I would probably take a risk on Hitman. I know he's not as tried and tested as a lot of these over the distance, but I think at 13-2, 7-1 in places, I think I'll take a little bit of a risk on him and say, yeah, I think he'll see out the distance there. I think he's a very good horse. He's going to be a very, very good horse next season, let me tell you that. He's one to watch for sure for next year already. Let's see, the only Irish contingent this year. A little bit disappointing not to see more Irish horses come over and try and win, but listen, this time of year, a bit of a logistical nightmare, getting people to come away for Christmas Day, etc., etc. But so, listen, you're only going to come over if you've got a very, very good chance, which Envoy Allen does on paper, but just not for me. I think the last day he won at Down Royal, he loves that track. He loves that course. Everywhere else these days, since his Novice days, again, I just think he's very, very bang average. Look, it's Rachel Blackmore, it's Henry de Bromhead. I know plenty of Irish people will be on, and look, obviously he has a chance. There's no doubt about it, but he's just not going to get my money. I just think he's better suited to other tracks. Does he have the pace these days for 3 miles at Kempton? I don't think so. I think a bigger test like Cheltenham or somewhere like that would be more up his street in Great Britain. So now we come on to the favourite and the second favourite. Brave Man's Game and L'Homme Pressé. Well, I think one of these two will win. And I ain't got a clue which one. I'm 50-50. And I've spent a couple of hours today to-ing and fro-ing, backwards and forwards between the two, watching replays. I just can't split them. I really can't. I know that L'Homme Pressé is rated £6 above Brave Man's Game. I think that does flatter L'Homme Pressé a little bit. I think Brave Man's Game is a lot closer to L'Homme Pressé than the ratings do suggest. They'll both like the ground. I think they'll both like the track. Brave Man's Game's got course and distance form. L'Homme Pressé hasn't. But I just don't know. That's the beauty of it. It's a hard puzzle to solve. I know I'm a tipster and it's my job to tell people the winners, but I literally can't split these two. And I wouldn't even want to put a bet on a reverse forecast either, because it's just a competitive field, and a horse like Envoy Allen could sneak in at second, or Hitman, or one of the bigger outsiders could sneak in there as well. So I'm literally so 50-50. And like I say, 1 minute I'm L'Homme Pressé, then I'm Brave Man's Game. If you're 50-50 like that, and you're going to be forced to have a bet with your head, and you can't pick between the two like me, if you're sitting there going, oh yeah, I'm literally the same, I can't pick between the two, then Brave Man's Game's the better value. And you can actually get an insurance bet at 2 places for Brave Man's Game at 13-8, which may not be a bad shout. So money back if he comes second. You get 13-8 winner if he wins. So that could be a play as well. If I'm completely honest with you, and I'm half cut in the pub, I would probably put my 20 quid on L'Homme Pressé, because I love that horse and he's won a lot of money for us already as a group. For me personally, I just love that horse, and I think I'd be more pissed off if I backed Brave Man's Game and L'Homme Pressé won than the other way around. So that would be my pissed up bet on King George Day if I do make it out. But yeah, I just cannot split them. If you can, fair play. And I'm sure there's plenty of tipsters out there who have and who's tipped something in this race. But I think the final sort of word on it for me is Hitman would be my each way play if I was pushed to pick one. And L'Homme Pressé would be my half cut bet in the pub. But apart from that, I'm just going to watch the King George. Like I say, it's a competitive race, not the best renewal, but a competitive race. I'm just going to watch it. It's a great race. I've tipped up 8 other tips for Boxing Day anyway. I don't need to back every race. There's 77 races in the UK and Ireland. So to be pushed for a bet here, I've tried my best to give you something. But VIP, we have no official bet in this race. Just going to watch it because it's a great spectacle. Good luck, whatever you're on. I've rattled on far too long enough. Have an amazing Christmas from everyone here at Platinum Racing and all the admin as well. Be lucky, stay safe, and have a super Christmas.